On today's show, Kevin Durant carries the Houston Rockets in the clutch with an assist from Reed Sheppard, and the Lakers fall to the Suns, who just got into their business and made some shots in the clutch. We're going to talk about both of those games and our favorite players playing less than 20 minutes a game. This is the All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with 150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague in a new hotel room, new location, as always. It's Tim Legler. Legs, how you doing today?
What's happening? Actually, same location as Wednesday. I mean, still in the same hotel room in Detroit. So looking forward to Cavs Detroit tonight. All access game. So it's going to be some interesting. If you want to watch the game tonight, it's interesting. We're doing some different stuff. And Michael Malone will be on the call with me.
Yes.
The championship coach of the Denver Nuggets will be with me on the broadcast, and we're going to be doing some interesting, different stuff that you normally see in a regular broadcast tonight. So it should be fun.
This is now must-watch television. You're right, man. You and Michael Malone. I think that's a great duo. And I like these casts. Are you going to be on the court? I know you guys have done some things on the court with players and stuff. Do you know what's in store?
Yeah, we're hoping to do a demo before the game with Cade Cunningham. I mean, that's the plan. These teams, a lot of times you're kind of at their mercy. You're waiting to hear, is the player going to agree to it? Will the team let him do it? We did one, Richard Jefferson and I did one with Con Knipple that was really good, talking about his process on ghost screening and popping to spots. And I'm hoping to do one with Cade tonight, talking about the high ball screen game with Duran and how that's evolved into one of the most deadly combinations in the league and his processing of the situation when he comes off those screens. So that's the plan. We'll see if we get and it's going to be Cade or somebody else.
Well, I don't know if you knew this, Legs, but Calvin Booth, did a podcast earlier this week with Kevin O'Connor, and it was very high profile that him and Michael Malone had a rift. They both end up getting fired. So I doubt he goes into this on the broadcast, but I have to imagine he had some thoughts about Calvin Booth's tell-all, quote-unquote tell-all in podcast form. So,
well, can we make a deal? Can we make a deal right now with you and I? If we get into a serious rift, at least one of us keeps their job. Can we just make a deal? One of us gets to stay?
No, you know what? I'm not doing it. If I'm taking you down with me, Legs. You're taking you down.
Man, it's a good thing. I'm writing down all the dirt over the last 2.5 seasons.
Oh, man. Let's get into these games, man. We always on this show like to talk real hoops. If that's what you're a fan of, make sure you're subscribed. We're doing this 3 times a week. And we always just look at games and go through what happened in them and get Legs' perspective on them. So we're going to talk about the Rockets beating the Orlando Magic 113-108. And we're really mostly going to be breaking down the fourth quarter, which was a fantastic close to this game. But the game actually turned, Legs, with a 21-0 run in the third quarter. And I feel like this was sort of a quintessential Orlando Magic game, that they have the upside to look phenomenal and go on runs. Desmond Bane was fantastic for most parts of this game. But a run like that is an absolute killer to any team. And then it makes it into tough clutch time, and we're going to break down clutch time quite a bit. But that's what stands out to me, that the Magic are this team that can feel good about themselves for 2.5 quarters and just have one bad stretch where you're like, that's right, they're so limited offensively in so many ways.
Yeah, you got 81-80 going into the fourth. And so if you didn't know better, you just go, oh, wow, okay, this has been a nail-biter the whole time. Right. Not exactly how it played out. So I didn't think Houston was very good at the beginning of the game. They just seemed like they were a step slow, kind of lethargic. Just some teams come out flat. And I thought they were flat at the start of the game. To their credit, they have the defensive capability of turning it up on you. They have the ability to control the glass, which for me, that's a huge part of erasing big deficits, right? Your ability to control the glass during stretches where you're getting extra opportunities because you're going to need them to dig into a deficit. But also, when a team's got a big lead on you, it's critical. If they hit a cold stretch, they're only getting one shot. So I thought that was big. You erase the deficit, and now it sets the stage for the fourth quarter. And this is where it's been a problem for Houston. I believe they were 14-16 in clutch situations going into this game. So you get to a 5-minute game, one possession basically, or within 5 points, they have struggled. They're a sub 500 team, and we know some of the reason for that. I just called one of those last Saturday with with the Knicks Rockets in Madison Square Garden with then an 18-point lead the second half and saw it disappear because they couldn't run their offense in the fourth quarter. Yeah. So they were we're going to see, like, how are they going to operate their offense in this one? They went with a different lineup. Their approach is a little bit different. It's still not the prettiest to watch because it requires great shot making out of Kevin Durant. Like, go be great shouldn't be an offensive play set, but with Kevin Durant, it is often. And then Reed Sheppard was great. But so they went about it a little differently down the stretch. They did get a close game win on the road, which I think is important for the Rockets.
I mean, it definitely is, but you're right that this is what I take away when I watch Houston play is that they do require spectacular play from Kevin Durant, and he was up for the challenge last night.
Yeah.
My God, was he in the fourth quarter? He hit like 4 or 5 tough ones, not just simple baskets, but ISO baskets that are tough that he makes look easy. He finished with 40 points. But their offense really was twofold, and you're right that it's defined by a different lineup because Kevin Durant was going to ISO. He was going to get that rub action at the top of the court, try to pick his matchup. And if they single covered him or if he could turn the corner on it, he was just going to get into the paint and get to his spot or pull up from 3. He did that at a high level. If they trapped, they had Reed Sheppard in the game over Amen Thompson. That was the guy who ended up not being in the game was Amen. You go with Reed Sheppard so that if you trap, you can get the ball quickly over to him as your release valve. Orlando didn't do a very good job of pre-rotating or stunting or anything like that, and he knocked down a couple big shots. That, as much as it looked spectacular last night, Legs, I still look at that and say it's not the most dynamic late-game offense. Either Kevin Durant does something impossible, or you kind of limit yourself to this like quick rotation to a shooter. Orlando just didn't do it last night. But so are you encouraged? I'm a little like almost, you watch that game from Houston and you go, man, they are so good at that, but is that enough?
No, I honestly not any more than I was because I this is going to be the struggle for them. It's going to continue to be, even with the lineup change. Reed Sheppard was great. He had 2 massive threes in this game that really kind of ended it. Like, I thought that those 2 threes, 2 biggest shots in the game. Durant had like 4 in a row, like you said, pull up mid-range, lean back jumpers with a hand in his face. I mean, working for him. But when he gets rolling, those aren't typical shots for Kevin Durant. And he got space, and Reed Sheppard helped him get that space. And then when it was time to kick it, Reed Sheppard was there to knock down 2 really deep threes, too. They were like 28-footers, like on the catch and shoot.
Nothing but that.
I still think it's a struggle watching them in those situations. And even Şengün, like, I was watching Şengün last night, and I'm like, man, he's so good, and I have so much respect for him. But he's not going to go by you. So, like, the plays where he has to catch the ball at 25 feet, and then just like wrestles his way into the middle of the lane with his back to the basket, and he's just controlling the dribble. Sometimes he'll score at the end of that. Sometimes he'll pass it. It's just none of it's really pretty. I guess with the exception of like, if you consider like Kevin Durant's shooting ability is pretty, and it is one of the greatest to ever do it. In fact, moved in an incredible company last night, 32,000 points, man. But it's you're watching it going, man, like, is this really sustainable?
Right.
To win 4 times in a series against the level competition they're going to see in the postseason of the Western Conference. And you have serious doubts about that. Durant was sensational. Reed Sheppard chipped in. But you're like, okay, but it's not really smooth. They're working hard as hell for it. And fortunately, Durant had it going at the time they had to start going to him for these ISOs. And it worked out for them. Yeah. So it's a good win. Don't get me wrong, man. Anytime you win on the road and you have to do it in that fashion, and come back too, like, that's a really, really good win for the Rockets. But it doesn't change all of a sudden my narrative about what this is going to look like in close games. It's going to be tougher for them to operate than a lot of teams.
Because you hope that they get a couple other just like motion buckets, just in the fourth. You sprinkle those in, so those Kevin Durant haymakers, those are what break your back and make you feel dispirited. But by the way, Kevin Durant, man, he is so special to watch. Like, his ability to get the 3 he pulled up in transition, I think it was in Tari Eason's eye, that was perfectly contested. It just was a perfect defense. He knew he was pulling up. He jumps. He gets elevated on it, gets a hand right there. Kevin Durant doesn't even see him, and it's just nothing but net. But to your point, you hope that those are that's what accentuates or at least pairs alongside a couple of other easy buckets, and that wasn't the case. But defensively, here's the thing. You're right about Reed Sheppard. I kind of trust him to make those shots. It was the big deal that they closed with him and played him. I think it was the entire fourth quarter, and I think part of the end of the third that he played all the way straight. And Udoka trusting him is important, but he trusts him because I don't know if I credit great defense from Houston, or if it was the exact same thing we just said about Houston was true of Orlando, only they don't have Kevin Durant, that their offensive approach in the last 5 minutes was not exactly dynamic and difficult to guard. And so you let Reed Sheppard just have to do a couple of basic things. They targeted him. He did a good job. But that's why you can keep him out on the floor, is because teams are going to attack him. But if you don't attack him dynamically, he can do some things to just keep guys in front. And that's what happened in this game.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to give Reed Sheppard some credit here because I think sometimes guys get labeled certain things, and it's amazing how when you're struggling to make shots, then all of a sudden that label becomes really important to people to talk about. Like for Reed Sheppard, last year he's struggling to make shots. Now all of a sudden it's like the guy can't guard anybody, and it's just not accurate. He actually competes defensively. Now he's going to have certain matchups. He's not a stopper, but he is adequate defensively, and particularly when you're talking about just quickness on quickness, he's going to be fine. He can slide his feet. He's really good at stripping down on guards when they're penetrating on him. You get a little bit bigger guy, that 6'4-ish, 6'5-ish type guy that's got some size to him, and they get a shoulder on Reed Sheppard. That's going to be harder for him. He's just not big enough to dislodge those guys on a drive at that point. But it's not like he's a complete sieve. He's not a coffee table defensively. Like, he competes defensively enough, particularly if you have the right matchup on the floor in the other end, for what he's given you offensively with this team, the threat that he has become, and how much you do have to kind of account for him, and you have to shift a little bit more toward him, just a step. That's all the space that Kevin Durant needs to get into a gap for a pull-up 18-footer where he's not driving into somebody's lap. That's how much it means to have a guy like that on the floor. And, listen, sometimes that means, you're out there, you're not even getting the shot, but your presence is helping other guys. He did both in this one. His presence helped Durant make those key shots. And then when it was his turn, because the double team did come, he was ready to step in and knock those down as well. So I just think the benefit of look, and it might not be, Amen Thompson out of the rotation or out on the bench during that time. It might be somebody else. Maybe it's a Kogi on a different night or somebody else, Jabari Smith, who knows? I think that part
you just need somebody.
Can move around.
Yeah.
But I think Reed Sheppard is really important to this team with the lack of legitimate three-point threats that you have to honor and shift toward and worry about closing out to. With the lack of them on this team, it makes everybody's life so much easier when he's out there, and then particularly if he makes a couple. Now it's a totally different thing for the defense. So give him credit, man. He had a big impact in this game. When he caught it and when he didn't, he was impacting the game. And then they rode the greatness of Kevin Durant, man, to make these one-on-one shots in tight windows in the middle of the floor.
It's crazy that KD is still doing this at this level, man, because he really did. I mean, he was making some shots that by virtue of his size and his skill set, there's just shots that there's nothing you can do with. Well defended, doesn't matter, got to a spot, faded away. And they were just so pure that you knew every single one of them was going in. Let's real quickly at a stat for you. Rockets are 19-1 when they hold their opponents under 105 points. I feel like it's a pretty big deal. They give up 108 in this one, but they can get you to 110 points. For all of their problems, they can get you to that. And their defense is good enough to on nights be able to do what they did last night. And so if you're trying to sell Rockets, if you're trying to buy the Rockets stock right now, that's what you're buying, is that they can defend, it feels like, pretty consistently. And then they can score at least 113 points. So that's part of it. I think that had more to do with the Orlando Magic that they were playing, and we're going to get to them in a second, but their offense is just not the most difficult to stop. But I do count on the Rockets to just get to 110 points.
And look, it's kind of like a little bit like what Houston deals with as well. Like that legitimate, natural, been playing the position my whole life as a point guard creator. They don't have that either. So, like, their offense is different. And when they got Wagner out there, who wasn't there last night with Banchero, you have these two kind of multidimensional big forwards, and that's kind of how they run their offense. And the question was always, are you going to add enough shooting around them? That's why they went out and got Bane. They still haven't been healthy all year with their two best players very often, but they still – and Bane is pretty good as an off-guard ball screen guy. Like, he can run that. He's pretty good at finding people. He's had some pretty good legit assist numbers throughout his career on given nights. But it's not like this is what we brought you in here to do, is just naturally put the ball on your hip and go orchestrate and get everybody in their place and now go attack and make everybody react to you and then find people if that's what it takes. They don't have that either. So if you think about how they were really kind of in the game, look at the night that Javon Carter had. I mean, he was incredible in the second half of this game. After Houston erased the lead, Javon Carter was the guy that was kind of keeping him in it. He made some big-time threes, but they're lacking that too. Neither team has a lot of firepower from the three-point line. And, 15 out of the Magic's a really good night from the three for them. But at the end of the day, this came down to, can the Magic operate in a space where they have a good enough defender to force Durant into really difficult, borderline unmakeable shots? And they couldn't do it. He was able to get to his spot. He's the one that took control of the game, took over the game, even against a really, really good defense when he had to. And Orlando's offense is not dynamic enough to overcome that late.
I think going to Reed Sheppard instead of Amen Thompson was obviously the right call, and it played out exactly that way. And I know Houston fans have been calling for Reed Sheppard to get more minutes in the clutch. They get it, and they get a win in the clutch. So I think you have to feel good about that. But my question is, I think Reed Sheppard has to be on the court for them in big moments because they just, to your point, he opens up the court and allows for Durant to kind of take the helm. But I hate the year that Amen Thompson is having this year. It bugs me because I am such an Amen Thompson fan. And you wonder when you change the roster as much and you tilt it towards KD, like who's going to be the one that has to like sacrifice the most? And I think it's clear that it's him because you might, and I don't know how you feel about this, you might have to give him the ball to really accentuate his offensive skill set and put spacers around him. But he's not good enough for you to do that now that you've added Kevin Durant. You want Kevin Durant to have the ball. You want Şengün. You want some of these other guys. And so I kind of wonder if last night was a bit of a tell for the problem with the Rockets, that Amen Thompson you might not get full value out of him in the situation that he finds himself in.
It's a good point, man, because you're right. The way they operate their offense without a true point guard, and Reed Sheppard can handle the ball adequately, but you're not going to sit there and trust him to run a steady dose of ball screen because of his size. It's just harder for guys that size. So his threat is more as a shooter. And he's a pretty dynamic off the dribble shooter too, but it's as a scorer more than anything. So when they get into these spots, we're like, okay, now we're trading baskets, one possession back and forth. Guess what? The ball's going to end up going directly to Durant first to start the possession. Yeah. And it's going to be like, or halfway through the possession, because sometimes they take way too long for me to run their initial action. That's what frustrates me about Houston, because they know ultimately it's going to be Durant, and it's going to be Durant deciding this possession. So there's no reason to give it to him with 19 on the shot clock. So a lot of times he'll catch it with like 10. And now you're like, and he's at 30 feet. And you're like, man, this is going to be tough. But he's so good, he can pull it off. So for Thompson in those situations, it's like, what is his role going to be then? He's not going to be primarily handling the ball because it's going to go Durant, and then Şengün will be the next option. And hopefully you got enough shooting on the court. So where does he go? Does he operate as the dunk guy? Is he going to be the slasher coming in from the weak side?
Exactly.
That spacing is not good for Durant. If Durant's going into his thing and now Thompson has to slash, guess what? He's dragging a defender right with him into an area that Durant might have to go. So you're right. I think this is something that they've got to figure out. There's a lot more there for Amen Thompson as he goes forward. And one thing we've talked about is put him in the post a little bit more. Maybe he can get more comfortable there as his career goes on. Maybe that's another option for you. If he's got an athletic mismatch in the post, maybe you can go there. And he's improved his free throw shooting to where it's respectable now. He's brought up 10 percentage points. So if he gets fouled down there, you're not as worried about it as you were last year. But the lack of shooting and where he has to go to be effective offensively, it is a problem for their spacing late in games, and all these possessions are magnified. I think you saw some of that last night. So this is going to be a challenge, I think, for Ime Udoka the rest of the way, and certainly in the playoffs when you're playing, a team is really prepared for you and how they want to guard Durant, Şengün.
I just love him in Thompson and think he can be a star. And unfortunately, this year feels like a step back. Another guy who's kind of in a slump right now is Tari Eason, and he gave him good minutes last night. Gives you athleticism and size, which I think is really important, especially against this enormous Orlando Magic team. But they're going to need his three-point shot, and he's just been in a little bit. I'm looking at his numbers over the last 10 games or so, and he hasn't shot above 40% except for one time against Sacramento where he was 1 of 1 from 3. And there were some times last night, where you're watching and you just think, okay, a little bit more spacing here would have helped. He finishes 0 of 3 from the three-point line. So he's another guy that, okay, you take a man out, you're going to have Tari Eason playing, but you still need those guys to knock down shots, and he's in a rut.
He is, and he only took 5 shots in the game, and their starters are 1 for 15 from the 3. or I'm sorry, 3 for 15 from the three from the starting lineup. So most of their production from the 3-point line, 8 for 14 off the bench from the three. They got most of it from their reserves. Most of that from Reed Sheppard, hit 5 of them. But like that's a really anemic 3-point shooting total. And Eason just wasn't getting them. He wasn't getting the looks. Didn't get a lot of touches in the game. But here's the thing about Eason, I will say, regardless of whether he's getting touches, making shots, they're definitely better when he does it. And their record bears that out if he makes 2 or 3 threes in a given night. But he still has such value even when he doesn't because of his physical toughness, the challenge that he takes on defensively, just kind of that grit that he gives them that kind of personifies their team. Tari Eason might personify that more than anybody on their roster. And that's why he's going to be out there anyway. So even on a night when he scores 2 points, takes 5 shots, he plays 33 minutes. It's because he's a presence for that team. So they can overcome it on nights he doesn't get touches. There's other guys, though, that is more important for me for them. Like Jabari Smith, he only got one look. It's like you've got it. There's got to be a way to get the guys, Kogi, like those guys have to contribute a little bit more to take some of the burden off this late game stuff and Durant being spectacular over and over.
Well, Jabari was ready for his one shot, though. It was a big one in the fourth quarter, and he knocked it down. Yep. So, but to your point, that's a very low volume for a guy you project to be one of your key floor spacers. On the other end, the Orlando Magic, I was impressed with Desmond Bane, even in the clutch. I thought he did some really nice stuff. Anthony Black, I've said this before, when he's good, I feel like the Magic are good, and when he's not, I feel like they're not. He's also in a little bit of a rut. And I wonder, as I was watching this game, and I haven't watched them a ton since Javon Carter came over, but I do wonder if they fill similar roles. Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, Javon Carter, all of these guys have somewhat similar profiles in that they're great defensively, offensively a little more questionable. Javon Carter was great. I was so impressed with him in this game. I don't know about you, but Anthony Black and Jalen Suggs were horrible, and I wonder if there's any correlation between that they fill the same niche, and if Javon Carter comes over, he's the one that gets to be that niche, and everybody else has to be something different.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And, it's funny, Javon Carter, like, you got to remind yourself, because it feels like this dude's been around forever.
It's because he looks
old. He's played on a bunch of teams.
Yeah.
He's played on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is his 7th team.
And I love Javon Carter. I love him.
He's only 30, man. I love him too. I've always liked Javon Carter. Go back to his college days, man.
Back to West Virginia.
You talk about it. West Virginia, like that backcourt. Javon Carter picking you up, 80 feet. It was just so tough, that environment. On home games, you were like, man, I couldn't wait to watch Javon Carter college. And I've been a fan ever since. He played great last night. And look, for his career, he's 38% three-point shooter. He's had years over 40%. He's just more of a threat, more consistent out there than Anthony Black. Anthony Black's bigger. He's got great vision. He's a really good defender. They both are. But Black is a bigger defender, so he can guard more guys on the floor. Yeah. But then that shooting some nights on this team is really important. And Carter gave that to them in the second half, and it earned him more minutes. So that, again, now for Mosley, much like we just talked about with Ime Udoka and pushing the buttons and the chess pieces on a given night, it's going to change. There's not a lot of constants with these two teams. And I think that's where you're going to see Javon Carter potentially some nights, he gets to ride it out if he hits some shots.
He was so good in the fourth. I mean, he was a big piece of why they were at least competitive here. Obviously, Desmond Bane, a guy that I hate because I rag on this guy over and over again, Legs, and I feel like a hater. And people think I'm a hater, but I'm not a hater. I actually want this player to be good. He just always bothers me. And last night it was Paolo Banchero. Now, he was great. We talked about the Magic on Monday's show, I believe, and he was great leading into that one, so we gave him some love. But last night in the clutch, he had one nice drive where he got to the basket, and I watched it. I'm like, yes, that's it. That's what you got to be. You're the big dude. You get Kevin Durant on an ISO. Just you're too strong for him. Go to the hoop. But he just didn't do it nearly enough. And in the clutch, I felt like they kept going to Bane, and it was almost like Paolo Banchero would get out of the way. He'd become a floor spacer for way too often. And when he got the ball, it just put your head down and get to the paint. He was too quiet in the clutch for this game for my liking, and I felt like they needed him to kind of be more aggressive.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this is particularly without Wagner, this is supposed to be your guy, and I agree with you. And, he didn't have a great night, and he did have a couple of shots he took that they were kind of forced. It was almost like a situation where, as the star player or their best player, you go, I need to get a shot up here. So I haven't taken a shot, and I need to get one because that's who I am, and like they need me. And so they were like kind of disjointed, out of rhythm type shots. This game was for anybody's to win with 3 minutes to go, and Houston made pretty much every shot they had to have during that stretch.
Yeah. What else do you see from Orlando in this game? Anything else stand out to you?
Man, I will say this: they've gotten back to what we talked about all last year for them. Because they were not that at the beginning of the year. They were not this team that you knew was going to make it difficult offensively to operate, because they were going to press up and they took it seriously, and they had a lot of length and size on the back end, and it was just hard. It was hard. They were incredible last year closing out to the three-point line. As good as any team I saw all year. Beginning of this year, it didn't feel that way. And I feel like they have gotten some of that identity back and their toughness back defensively, which is a good sign. If they can ever just get whole and get Wagner, Banchero, Bane out there at the same time, to see what that would look like with this defense now that's kind of rounded back into the form they had last year.
On the Houston side, they're on a road trip right now on the East Coast. They've got Miami tomorrow night and then Washington on Monday, Golden State and Portland after that. Those are all winnable games. And, they're in the 3 seed right now. And they have the ability to build a little bit of a cushion, which I think they're going to have to do. So these games, they pulled it out last night, and it was kind of a big one. It could have swung kind of their momentum and where they're at right now. So it's a big one, and they have a couple games here that are very winnable. So I'm curious to see if they can keep the momentum going. All right, let's take a break, legs. On the other side, I want to get to the other game that was interesting, which was the Suns, with some incredible shot making and incredible execution in the fourth quarter, picked up a win against the Lakers, and the Lakers are in a scary spot. We're going to talk about that on the other side. It's about FanDuel. You ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. NBA futures let you lock in your pick for who you think will go all the way, whether it's a team to win the championship or a conference title. Just visit FanDuel.com/AllCity to get started. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? I wanted to work in basketball. Mission accomplished. How about now? Are you thinking about starting your own business? Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Shopify even powers the All City merch store. Shopify has got you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email and social media marketing, and so much more. They also have AI tools designed to help you maximize sales. So if you're thinking about starting a business, or if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. They have all the tools that'll help you get started. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All NBA Show with me and Tim Legler. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button. Hop in the chat. Talk along with us. Let us know what you're thinking about the games we're discussing. Next on the docket, legs, the Phoenix Suns got a much-needed win last night over their rival Los Angeles Lakers, and they did it in the clutch behind my guy, Collin Gillespie, who was incredible throughout it, making some big-time shots early and late in that fourth quarter. Man, I just know how to pick him.
First of all, I'm going to listen to me right now. This may be something we might need to go and legislate, literally take you to court over this, because how can you claim a guy that I literally coached against when he was 12? You know what I'm saying? I saw this. I saw the guy, your guy, when he wasn't even a guy. He was a kid. Yeah. So it should automatically.
That you just get him from that?
Yeah. Come on. You kidding me?
Did you? How was he? You coached against him. How was he to coach against?
I loved him because, and it was funny because he had another guard on that team. It was this AAU team, Northeast Philly, called the Northeast Sting. And we played them a bunch. I think we played him probably literally 10 times while Collin Gillespie was there. He had another guard, and I don't know the kid's name. He was almost like a carbon copy of Collin Gillespie. They looked the same. They were the same size. They had this incredibly smart, tough backcourt. And they shot it. They defended. They never turned the ball over. So they were kind of a nightmare to play against, but we had great success against their team. Like we always
really,
and they never beat us. Never beat us one time. We played them, like I said, probably 10 times. We had some close games with them, and we had even one 3-point buzzer beater we had to hit them with, but they never were able to get us. But every time I came away from the game, I was a huge fan of this kid. I didn't know what his career would go on to be. And then he goes into no scholarship offers going into his senior year of high school after that. And he ends up at Villanova, Big East Conference Player of the Year, wins a national championship. And now here he is in the NBA starting for the Suns and a great candidate for most improved player. It's been this incredible journey. And I've seen Collin a few times out at arenas or whatever. And, we remember those days of playing against each other. I had incredible respect for him. Who could have ever predicted it would turn into this? But it's funny, when you talk to him, he never doubted it. He knew this was going to happen all along. That's how much he believed in himself. And I guess nobody should have doubted him based on the college career he had and where he was going into his senior year of high school. So great story.
Yeah, you got to ask Michael Malone about him
because I've seen him. I've known him and seen him all these years. I don't know how you feel ethically. Like, how do you look at yourself in the mirror knowing that you're doing that?
Somebody in the chat says legs should claim Adam's 9-year-old daughter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. After that, are you kidding me? After that screen dive put back to win a game?
Hey, man. Yes. Come on. Let me have this one. You got to ask Michael Malone about Collin Gillespie.
No, that's the one exception. Blood relatives, we are off limits. I agree.
All right. They're good news, man. That's my top prospect. But no, he was fantastic in this game, man. And he just runs a team so well. I mean, he's really, when you talk about true point guards, he is as much a true point guard as anybody in the NBA in just terms of getting the type of shots you want on the offensive end every single time. But it was also the defensive pressure that unit was able to put on in Phoenix to just really disrupt the Lakers that stood out to me. So what stood out to you about the fourth quarter here, and why the Suns were able to win?
Well, I thought that it was their execution offensively versus incredible shot making out of the Lakers. I mean, some of the threes that Luka hit late, the one Austin Reeves hit on the left wing, just incredible individual, very difficult shots. Whereas for Phoenix, you're missing Booker. Dylan Brooks has been your second best offensive player. He's been a go-to guy in the nights Booker hasn't played, and he's risen to the challenge. Incredible year offensively for Brooks. He's out now, so it's like, where do you go? So it's got to be execution. You're not just going to break people down with the guys that are out there. We're going to have to execute, get the Lakers in some sort of matchup that they don't want, beat them off the dribble, which the Lakers are very susceptible to, and then force rotation and now let them try to catch up to the ball because we're going to move it exactly how we have to. And the shots they were getting were dudes stepping into in-rhythm shots when the ball had moved around the horn a little bit. And it's different than what the Lakers were doing, just making great shots to hang in there, cut into the deficit and give themselves a chance to win. You just felt like Phoenix was operating in a way offensively that was going to lead to something good if it came down to last team with the ball wins. And that's exactly what happened. And, I'll give your comments on that, but then we'll talk about specifically that last play and why this is a problem for the Lakers. And it will be a problem for the Lakers going forward, and specifically last night, why something defensively might have cost them this game.
Well, I don't know about the last play as much. The rotations, obviously, the Lakers can get hung up on. But what stood out to me in this fourth quarter overall about the Lakers defense and why I think, and it's kind of a damning trait, they have too many guys that cannot be the low man defensively. The low man who has to be the farthest rotation, usually guarding a guy in the corner or the dunker, and has to rotate over and stop the roll or stop the drive and then close out. They have too many guys that cannot get that done. I mean, obviously Austin Reeves, you have Kennard, you've got LaRavia. Marcus Smart works his butt off when he's in that role, but he's also still a little bit undersized. And teams can hide one guy because you can pre-rotate and switch the switcher, on the back end and try to put your best low man down there. But when you have two or even three, and in the Lakers' case, sometimes four guys, there's no way you could protect it. And I just felt like it was constantly seeing LaRavia or Kennard in that low man spot, having to make a rotation and be some kind of a rim protecting threat. The Lakers just have too many of those guys. I don't know if they can defend with their personnel.
They're out there playing 5 smalls. Well, smalls, some of these guys are pretty good size forwards, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
No legitimate power
bigs.
forward, no legitimate center, right? And they're playing with these lineups. Now, let's talk about. You're right. So when they play these lineups, that is a problem for them. But let's look at. I want to talk about specifically the last play of the game because something about it, it just drives me nuts when teams switch for no reason, just because they're in a defense that's switch everything, and you've put yourself in an incredible disadvantage. And here's what happened on the last play. Grayson Allen has the ball. He's dribbling the ball toward the left side and gets a little brush screen. LaRavia is guarding him. I would assume they'd want LaRavia on it. Probably they had their preference. Grayson Allen was holding the ball so long, it was obvious to everybody, okay, they're going to let Grayson Allen make some sort of play off the dribble and try to decide the game. So you'd either want Smart or LaRavia, the guys on the floor, on him, okay? So Smart's on the other side of the floor. So it's LaRavia. Here comes the screen. It wasn't even a screen. There was almost no contact on the screen. And you know who's guarding the screener? Luka Dončić. So here's the thing I'm saying to you. First of all, they didn't have to switch it. There was plenty of room because Grayson Allen dribbled the ball off the screen. And there was at least 6 to 8 feet of space between the screener and where he was dribbling the ball. If you're LaRavia and you're Luka, the last thing you want is Luka playing the primary guy that's going to try to beat you off the dribble. Let LaRavia just stay on him. There's no need to switch. And more importantly, keep him pinned right there. He's over by the sideline. Because the only guy you got to worry about then is the strong side corner Gillespie, and you're going to stay home. It's a much more difficult play for Grayson Allen to go left side down the slot with only one guy on his side of the court. Now you got a really difficult pass to the weak side, and he's going to his weaker hand. All of it makes sense, right? Now, I know that's hard to communicate maybe in real time, but it shouldn't be. It should be so obvious the way it was setting up. Keep him there. Don't switch it. Let the guy roll out. Luka stay with the screener. Now we got LaRavia on the ball handler, right? They don't do that. They switch it. What does Grayson Allen do? Immediately gets the ball back to his right hand, which is where he wants to go, goes dead down the lane, and now you put them in a tough spot on the back end because Luka's beaten off the dribble. Here's LeBron at the rim. He's like on the block. He comes over to try to make a play if Grayson Allen shoots it, and here comes one of the great passes you're going to see in that situation. Grayson Allen with a wraparound pass to the corner to Gillespie, who touch passes it in the air. Great touch pass. Beautiful. Like if he comes down with the ball, even a more like a quarter second more, and then makes the pass, LaRavia's closeout is going to be hand on hand on O'Neal's shot. He didn't. Gillespie jumped in the air, caught it. Before he hit the ground, the ball was out of his hand. So O'Neal had that extra count, so it's an uncontested shot. And LaRavia did everything he could to get out there. The problem is it started with the initial breakdown off the dribble where they picked Luka to play against, and the Lakers let him. They didn't make sure. No. I got it. No switch. I can get over the top of his screen. And even if he didn't force him to the left, like I said, Adam, even if he just played him straight up, he's got a better chance of keeping him in front or staying on his hip at least than Luka's going to. And that's what Grayson Allen did. He beat him off the dribble. He forced a rotation along the baseline where you get up with 4 Lakers in the paint. And now it's just a matter of, can you execute the kick out pass? And then what decision does Gillespie make, which was a perfect one. And now O'Neal just walks right into an uncontested 3 to win the game.
It really was a great pass by Grayson Allen and a great touch pass. So it did require 2, pretty high level plays. But to your point, the breakdown begins up top. Do you think JJ should have had Luka out of the game at that point? They had a timeout, I believe. They could have got him back in for the offensive possession.
Man, that's a little bit tougher. Get Vanderbilt on the floor. But the problem is they didn't take a timeout, if I recall correctly, right? Phoenix didn't take a timeout, I don't believe. Did they? I don't remember. Maybe they did.
Actually, now that
I'm trying to think because they tied the game. It was 22 seconds left. Maybe it was a timeout. Maybe they came out of a timeout and there was an opportunity to do that. Look, that's a tough call for any head coach. It just is. That's hard when you're talking about guys on that level. Like pulling them out of the game, because there's another way of thinking. Like if they went quicker and you get the ball and you want to just play, you want Luke on the floor. But even just from a like finessing the situation with your star player component, that's a real thing. Like we're going to pull them off. No, what you really hope is you can find an appropriate matchup for him and where you kind of hope that you can communicate not to switch it unless it's absolutely necessary. If that screen is set at the 3-point line and it's a tight one where Grayson Allen's coming off and yes, and you got switch, you have no choice. That's not what this was. It was a very casual dribbling the ball toward the left side, all kinds of space between him and the screener. Laravia easily could have just gone over the top of that screen, met him on the other side, still been guarding him. Instead, it was like so quick and automatic. We're going to switch this no matter what the screen looks like. We're just going to, because that's what defense we're in. And now, okay, well, I picked Luka to play against. That's what they did. And we've seen it before with Luka where, he gets singled out in that situation. It's tough for him. He just, that first step, rotating his feet, is a little bit heavy-footed on that first movement against them. And Grayson Allen's not lightning quick, but he's pretty good going to his right hand, and that's where he got. And he wanted to, that matchup, and he wanted to beat him off the dribble to his right hand, and then you got to make a play, and he did. He and Gillespie both did. But it's going to be a dilemma for the Lakers all year.
Yeah.
What lineup do you want on the floor defensively to try to close out games? Because they can get broken down off the dribble. When you play all smalls, you're really susceptible at the rim.
Well, they were going at Luka the entire fourth quarter. I mean, trying to get him in that rub action, to your point, get him on ball, and then just attack him and make him work. And, it was a winning strategy for them last night. Another thing with the Lakers, they give up 20 threes again. This is, I think, the most threes they've given up. It was supposed to be a good get-right stretch for them right now. They had that 8-game homestand, and then you go out here, kind of close game to home. The moderate teams, not necessarily a bunch of juggernauts. They were supposed to get right, but unfortunately the opposite has happened. And then you get this quote from Deandre Ayton where he says, "They're trying to make me Clint Capela. I'm not Clint Capela." There might not be a quote out there that better describes a guy than that one. First of all, Clint Capela is a good player, very good rim protector and roller, and it almost make it sound like it's less than him. And then second, execute that role then. If that's the role you're in, execute that one. He's a minus 24 in this game. Right off those comments, gives you 2 points and 4 rebounds in 23 minutes. Ayton, man, I don't even have a question for you other than just throwing that sequence of quotes out there.
Well, here's the thing with Ayton. I think what he's trying to say is I'm a lot more than a screen roller.
Yeah.
I've got some offensive skill. I was number 1 pick in the draft.
Did he not know what he was getting into when he signed the legs? That's the other thing. He saw Luka was on the team. He saw LeBron was on the team. What did he think?
You never know how that conversation goes when they're trying to basically, think about bringing him in. Was he under the impression hey man, they didn't have a whole lot of punch in the middle, right? With the guys they had before, I'm different. They're going to utilize me. And there's numbers out there, their record when he gets 10 shots is really good, and he rebounds better on those nights. But you can't cater your whole game to making sure DeAndre Ayton's happy. I get that. He's saying, there's more to me than that. I'm a pretty good mid-range shooter. I'm decent in the post. Sure. I'm not screen dive lob, screen dive lob, screen dive pocket pass all night long. And if I don't get it 5 times in a row, continue to do it. There are guys in this league that do it. Clint Capela is a good example. Rudy Gobert is another guy that does it.
Yeah.
Watch how many times Rudy Gobert sets the first pick, dives to the rim,
back up.
Nothing. They swing the ball to the other side of the floor, and he runs back out from the rim to do it again. And some guys understand, this is where I have to score. This is my role. Hopefully on some nights I get rewarded more than others. But the bottom line is, for our team, I need to do that with full commitment every time, because it will create opportunities for other guys in the perimeter. If you don't wrap your head around that I might have to do this screen dive action 30 times to touch it 4. If you can't wrap your head around that and commit to it, then it's a bad fit. And I think right now, you're seeing some of that. His numbers are nuts. I'm going back, his last 8, 10, 14, 18, his last 20 games. The games when he's had double figures, he averages 16, 17 points a game. That's half the time. The other half, he averages 5. So it's this weird thing. It's either he gives you something on a given night that's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. Yeah, 14 and 9 or whatever. And then there's other nights it's 5 and 4. Yeah. And so the fit is obviously not something he's happy with. Obviously, he's not on the floor at the end of the game. They're not probably thrilled with what's going on there either. I don't know what the answer is. Play small all the time. Jackson Hayes wasn't there. Jackson Hayes gives you at least different sort of athletic guy that I think Luka likes playing with guys like that. So, you go there a little more, but he doesn't play a ton of minutes either. It's almost like they're going to be forced to play smaller lineups to give themselves a chance, particularly in the fourth quarter of games. And then that's going to be hard for them.
It's like somebody said in the chat, they can go small, but they're still slow. Usually when you go small, you get a little bit more athleticism and speed, but not with the Lakers.
Well, that's like that was a funny quote. My high school coach, the first time I ever heard something like that was my high school coach gave a quote. We were going to play a state playoff game, and we were playing a much bigger team. And he's like, hey, listen, we aren't big, but we are slow. And I thought that was a really, really good way to sum it up. So, yeah, listen, like you're going to attack some of these guys. Luka's going to be at the top of the list. He's going to get you back a lot of nights on the other end. And if you got a chance the ball in his hands late, that's not the case here. They were on defense late. And now you've got a little bit more of a problem. You got the ball late with Luka, Austin Reeves, LeBron, like, okay, some good things are going to happen in those situations. But this was the opposite. They tied it up and didn't have the ball. Now, although they did get a hell of a shot off. That was a great
play,
out of bounds
man.
play, man. I honestly, the risk reward, if I'm JJ's, offensively a genius in terms of coming up with stuff like this, but the risk reward is I'm looking at that you're counting on that being open, man, from one side of the court to the opposite corner with a guy running between two teammates who are going to basically build a wall, and you squeeze between it, turn, find the ball in the air, get it off, and they did all of that. Yeah. It was an incredible screen by Kleba. Like, he completely stood his guy up. But that ball has to be thrown basically, 45 feet perfectly. And it was. And Austin Reeves got off as good a look as you'll ever see, down 3 with 0.9 seconds to go.
It really was a great play, man. A really, really well designed one. And I like it because at late game, 0.9 seconds left, you are more thinking about the nearer side of the court, near the ball handler. So it's almost like
down.
So the defense shifts over.
What you normally see is, you'll normally see like some sort of hard screen action, bringing a guy to the strong side corner. If they screw it up, that's always going to be your first look, and a dude will catch it and shoot some fadeaway in the corner 3. It's as good as you can get off. It's the secondary action that you're always kind of looking for, because that first action will force defenders to move, and maybe they get out of place to guard the next screen. That's usually the guy that you're looking for that's coming toward the top of the key. To design this play where you've got to execute that on that long of a pass to the opposite corner with all that traffic over there, that was a gutsy call, perfect execution. And it just unfortunate for Austin Reeves, to not knock it down, because that was a perfection in terms of coming up with something to get a clean look with less than a second to go.
Yeah. The last note I have here on this game, LeBron has these games and these moments in games where he looks his age. And it's amazing what he's able to do. His peaks are still high, and I'd say his average is still high, but he does have these moments where I just watch him and I go, man, that looks like me at the gym. And he had one of these in the fourth quarter where he just got to the rim and shoots a shot from basically below the net or something like that. And it's a reminder that, hey, we're late in the year now. He missed some time, but now he's been playing quite a bit. These games are intense. And as much as what LeBron does at his best is special, there are these pockets where I watch him and he looks 41 years old.
I know the play you're talking about. It was like a little finger roll over the front of the rim. Yeah. And he like left it short. And
rocket boosters didn't fire, man.
And like the second replay was like super slow-mo replay. And like the angle was looking right at the rim. He missed it, and immediately like his reaction. But the best was there's two young fans, like, young men sitting on the baseline, and their reaction was like, they couldn't believe what they just watched, because it's this uncontested. They thought it was going to be a dunk, and it was like obviously an easy little finger roll over the front of the rim, and he came out short. You're right. Listen, man, it happens to all of us. Eddie Johnson was on the call. I was listening to him say, hey, man, we've all been there. And he's right. And like LeBron, man, at his age, with all the miles, he's going to have some of those. More, we're not used to seeing it, but certainly forgivable now, man, like at this stage of his career, that he's going to have some plays like that don't look exactly like they did 2-3 years ago.
That play is exactly how I feel every time I play basketball now, where even if I make a move that works, I just, in my head, I'm going a little bit higher than I go. And then I'm like, oh man, that's right. I can't do this anymore. Let's wrap up now, though, by talking about some of our favorite role players here that play under 20 minutes per game. And the way you wrote this out was players that impact winning the most who play under 20 minutes a game, which is very specific. So we're just going to do your list. I have some extras if you don't mention some of these guys, but Who made your list, your top 3 guys under 20 minutes?
All right, my top guys, top 2, I actually think are even in a different category than the other 2 I wrote down.
I think I have one of these.
These 2 specific players, to me, impact winning more than anybody else that's playing 19 minutes or less. The first is Alex Caruso.
No doubt. That was the one I thought was an absolute lock.
And I was actually shocked because you and I had been talking about like all role player team and stuff like that, which is great. But some there are role players that start. I mean, there are role players that play 33 minutes a night. It's a lot harder to do this in this amount of time. I couldn't believe when I actually looked up his numbers that he plays 18 minutes a game.
It's kind of unfair, man. How can they afford to only play him that much?
That's what I'm saying. And not only that, a guy like this that's so disruptive, how fresh he is all the time. It's not fair, man. Like the amount of depth that they have. But anyway, to me, Alex Caruso, like the games I've called it, the impact he has had in those minutes, and it's even a bonus if like he makes a couple threes. He doesn't have to even shoot the ball for what he does to help them win in 18 minutes. The other guy is Mitchell Robinson. Robinson.
Oh, I didn't see him under 20 for sure.
How many nights has Mitchell Robinson completely transformed a game? Because he comes in and he gets 5 offensive rebounds in a short period of time, and he's just wearing the defense down so much because they got to play defense now for 30 to 40 seconds at a time and he does those ones where he'll get 3 in a row. And you're just like, man, it's so demoralizing. Offensively, again, some nights he's a little bit more of a factor. He also, by the way, really good at jumping out, sliding his feet, switching, tracking guys to the rim. So defensively, but it's the rebounding, how he just absolutely wears down a defense because physically what he gives his team and what he makes you have to do defensively. So what do you think about him?
I mean, 100% he belongs on this list. The other thing that he provides, and Caruso provides a little bit of this, but what Mitchell really provides is you have to alter your rotation to match up with his minutes because you cannot put somebody out there that's not going to be able to compete with him on the boards, or else you're just completely sunk. And I think that's an underrated thing when you have a tool like that you get to dictate how the opponent is going to use their rotation on any given night. It's a great one.
I love that.
Hey, he's under 20 minutes, huh? That's wild.
Yeah, 19. He's 19.5, so he just gets in there.
Man.
And his I would think he'd be over 20, but he has a number of nights where he gets in foul trouble because he goes after everything and he's all over the glass. You're going to get offensive fouls. Will also be over, but he's not. 19 and a half minutes. This next guy plays 13 and a half minutes and still has a big impact every night. And it also always feels like, because I look his numbers up and I'm like, I was very surprised considering he's considered a non-shooter. But I was very surprised that his percentage is only 31% from the 3 because it feels like he makes big ones for them. It's Gary Payton Jr.
Oh, man, I love this. One of my guys. I loved Gary Payton Jr.
13 and a half minutes a night this guy plays, man. It's incredible because it feels like he's always got his hands involved in every run. Like he's coming up with strips. He guards anybody. He's on the glass. He slashes. He hits a timely 3. It seems like he crams so much into his 13 and a half minutes. What do you think of that one?
For sure, he's one of these guys. Gets hurt a lot, and it's in part because he throws his body just into chaos. That guy is not afraid to extend his body through traffic to try to make a play. So he's on my list. I don't know if he would have been the top, but he's a guy I definitely see. What we're seeing is the trend here. Guys under 20 minutes is that they play 40 minutes worth of effort in 20 minutes, and that's what all these guys do. How about T.J. McConnell? TJ McConnell fits this bill. Even last year, 18 minutes a game, but what a loud and impactful 18 minutes when he comes in, full court press. We're going to speed you up on your end, and then he just kind of dribbles around the court until he finds an advantage. I think he has
TJ McConnell is the master at the embarrassment play. He embarrasses you because he lurks in the backcourt and steals the inbounds pass. Like that's an embarrassing play for an NBA player. Or even the plays where you said he does I used to compare it to Gretzky a little bit when he would go behind the net with the puck and the goalie's looking for him. Like when TJ goes along the baseline, right? He just dribbles. Yeah. He's tiptoeing the baseline and he's getting the whole defense to turn their head and try to find him. And then something good comes out of it. That's a really good one. I had one more name written down and it should be hit home with you. How about Valanciunas?
Interesting one.
You don't like him? Oh, okay. That's all you got to say. Say no more. Nope. You took a big
here's the thing. Yeah. Here's the thing with Big Val from watching him this year. He's so huge and he can impact you because it's like, okay, now you have to have a true backup center. He's a throwback player, but he is going to be vulnerable on the other end. And I just feel with him, it's a little give and take. There are games when he is the big guy who can't guard little, and there's the games where he's the big guy who punishes you inside, but it's not as consistent enough, for my liking. But he is an interesting one.
I mean, 14 minutes a game to get 9 and 5 in 14 minutes. That's pretty good production. And, I loved the signing because of I thought it would give them a little bit more luxury to give Jokic a little bit longer rest sometimes because Valanciunas could go out there and hold his own. So that's why I kind of included him. I've been in 14 minutes, man. I think he gives you a lot.
Dennis Jenkins, I see, get some love here. Jared McCain fits this. Javon Carter, who we talked about, certainly is this bill of player who comes in and just plays hard for his minutes. A guy that's like really low on minutes, but one of the guys I absolutely love is Kenrich Williams. And what I like about him is he does all the things we just talked about, playing hard and defending and making extra plays. But he also is sneaky versatile. He's my height and kind of a not like the biggest bodied guy. And yet he can guard centers, he can guard point guards. He just does so many things. He's the ultimate luxury 12th, 13th man because you could play him in place of about 9 different players, and he just makes winning plays nonstop. So he's another guy that I have on my list. I'm curious who you guys have. Jordan Walsh, another guy that could be on the list. I'm curious. This is a fun list to make. So look at guys. You can sort this out on stats.nba.com and just go 20 minutes or less and see who you guys are that impact winning the most. You can cue that outro music there, Atticus. Legs, this was a great week of shows, man. The NBA is really getting exciting. This has been 2 weeks in a row. We've gotten good games to talk about.
Getting better and better every single week, gearing up for this. What's going to be, I think, one of the best postseasons we've ever had.
Legs is on with Michael Malone, guys, tonight. That is must-see TV. I am tuned in. Might have to set the DVR. I can't wait to hear what those guys talk about and check out the game. Make sure you hit that like button for us. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave us a 5-star rating and review if you want to help grow the show. We'll see you guys next week.
We all silly like the mayor.